This is episode 99 of the Unnecessary Nonsense podcast. We are but one single episode, 1 week away from cake. I mean, episode 100.
Yeah, I was just thinking cake.
I needed to take a second. We just needed to absorb it and think about it. Now it's true. Planning begins. The planning begins for cake.
Should we just eat cake for an hour? There's no actual talking. It's like, hi, Carlos. Hi, Dave. And we eat cake.
I'm not saying yes. I'm not saying no. But it might be in play. So that'll be next episode. But for this episode, we'll have a little fun. We got a couple of things we're going to talk about. We'll let you know, recent Montreal Canadiens fan Dave speak on a few of those matters and some other items on this episode of the Unnecessary Nonsense podcast. All right. So I'm Carlos. That's Dave. What's going on, Dave?
I had a list of things that I was going to tell you, but then you talked about cake, and then now I can't get anything else off my mind.
It's understandable. It is a legitimate reaction to cake.
You know, but truthfully, kind of the same old in terms of the week and everything like that. Although I did read Jim Ross's book this week, Under the Black Hat.
Okay.
Which is basically it's really interesting because it's basically stories about him ripping on Vince McMahon and getting angry at Vince McMahon, and then later talking about how much he loves Vince McMahon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, a complicated relationship.
Well, when we talk a little bit more on the specific wrestling piece, I'll touch on that a little bit more because, like I said, I've mentioned before, I actually really love talking professional wrestling as a business, as a genre of entertainment, because it is fascinating. You have to be, and pardon my français, you have to be fucked up to be involved in this business. Like truly,
some way, shape, or form.
In some way, there has to be something fundamentally wrong with you, which is the only reason I'm shocked that I haven't gotten involved in the wrestling business directly. Like, clearly, I need to run some of this shit because
it's true,
like,
actually.
Goddamn, son.
You know, Carlos Wrestling Startup.
No, forget that. You'll see me. I'll be debuting at AEW. It's like, what are you doing? I am the new authority figure. But isn't Tony, you've been supplanted. Get out. But you can own the company. It is not my job. It's I believe it. It's my place now. Don't worry about it. I'll handle this. Get out.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, that business is odd. Let's put it that way.
For sure.
Yeah. So otherwise, same old.
Yeah.
Usual thing.
I can't really add anything really much. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna have so much fun with little tidbits of this episode. I already have it in the back of my mind, little things. We'll get there.
This is good.
Yes, but the number one thing is I wanted to make sure I covered is that so this week for the most part pretty chill, pretty calm. We're definitely starting to feel the humidity a little bit. This weekend is starting to warm up. We're definitely feeling it.
Now, do you have the window unit in yet? The AC?
No. That's the plan. Probably, I'll be honest, it's probably for the end of the summer, early fall. It's more likely it's going to be fall. Okay. It's not going to happen yet. I do have I think you were thinking the fan.
I know about the fan. I got the fan.
The fan is good.
Does it make a huge difference?
It helps a lot. It circulates the air. That's really the biggest thing. You just don't want air to be stale and to stay still. That's the biggest thing. Of course, It's still going to be warm, but whatever. But that's what you've got. Like this thing right here. Let me get my angles right. There we go. So this guy right here is off right now. But if I turned it on, it would pump cold air in my direction. But it would also be loud as hell.
Yeah.
So
not quite good for the podcast.
Yeah, you got to pick and choose your battles. So right now, the ceiling fan is doing work right now as I speak. Yep. So that's fine. And while I'm doing the podcast, it's not a big deal. If it gets super, super hot, then I can always precondition the room ahead of time. There's things I can do. It's fine. But probably before the end of the year, I'll get that thing installed. I'll figure it out. There's some work still to be done before we get there. Otherwise, work-wise, the week has been pretty good. We're starting to warm some things up. The virtual expo is coming up in a couple of weeks now. We're a couple of weeks out from that. I'll talk about more about that in episode cake, assuming we don't just eat cake. So we'll see. If there's any words exchanged, there might be a couple of words on that.
I'm thinking about it now, and I really like the title "Episode Cake."
I think that's going to be the title.
That needs to stay.
Spoiler, that's the title. We're just calling it episode cake. That's it. So just so y'all know, just ahead of time. But the bottom line is, so I'll have more to say when we get to that portion of it. Card wise, it's been a good week. I will say for the collection as well. And I went down a little. So usually I go down a YouTube rabbit hole, but this time I went down an eBay rabbit hole. I saw something interesting that I was searching for something else, but sometimes you'll get like. You'll get similar items or items from the same seller is usually where this stuff comes up. And usually I ignore it, whatever. But then I saw something that will play very nicely. And there's a couple here that I purchased, and I'll show you two for two different reasons that'll be entertaining. But this one actually plays very nicely when we get to the segment on the wrestling, But I'll show you why, and then I will explain more when we get to the segment proper. But for now, let me show you the image, and I'll quickly explain what it is. And then, like I said, we'll come back to this concept later. I have purchased this lot that is on the screen. Now,
Ooh.
can you make out, do you know what this is? And I can explain exactly what it is, but I'll just conceptually.
Well, it's 2 autograph cards.
Correct.
So that I can see.
Mhm.
And it says you got Ultimate Signatures, 1 of 25, and then a Penelope Ford, Ring Queen's Penelope Ford, just on her own. So you have 2 Penelope Ford signatures, and then it looks like Britt.
The top one is Britt Baker.
So I was going to say, is that...
Who will come up again?
Carlos.
Who will come up again?
Dr. Britt Baker, DMD.
Correct. She will come up again. But I thought it would be very appropriate. These are two ladies who are in AEW. Now, quickly, just to explain what it is, this is our friends at Leaf Trading Cards, who make all kinds of crazy shit that people don't know about. But this is 2020 Leaf Wrestling, which I didn't know was a thing. They made a wrestling set.
Cool.
So
and is it reasonably priced?
I would say the original probably wasn't, but the cards themselves, like these cards, I think I paid maybe less than $40 for both these cards. Which, given that one of them, again, will come up again later, I think is actually quite reasonable. I actually have no issue with making this purchase. But they've got the the Ring Queens, which is a couple of ladies there, some names that I do know, and I can share a little bit of the checklist later. They've got the dual signatures, which isn't just these 2 ladies. There's a couple of different combinations. I will show you one of the combinations, and they also have some legends. So I'm going to show you one of the legends, and I'm going to show you one of the dual combinations, and I think you'll enjoy it. So first, let me stop sharing real quick.
All right.
So that was one of the lots. Like I said, I went down a rabbit hole. As soon as I saw that, I was, number one, I didn't know there was a thing. I didn't realize there was a thing. And I was like, what? I'm in. Let's do that. So like that sounds good. Now, this one I want to share with you. This is one of the legends. So
All right.
as soon as I saw that, I was like, I must have it.
So you have purchased this card.
Everything I'm going to show you, I have purchased.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, Dave. Who is it, Dave?
Sid Vicious.
Yes, the
Also
master.
known as Psycho Sid.
The master and ruler of the world, Dave. I was like, oh my God, the entertainment value. The glorious entertainment value. I was very amused. Very
I love
amused.
it, man.
Yep.
So how many total Leaf Wrestling cards did you buy?
Probably about 4 or 5. 4 or 5. And,
All autographs?
All autographs. Like when it's autographs, Leaf makes nice looking cards.
Yes, I would agree with that. Based on what I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, the aesthetic, and apparently what they did is they didn't use any photos. They had sketches made for all the wrestlers. If you notice, those are all sketches. So Leaf commissioned sketches, and that's what they used for the cards. And then the wrestlers signed stickers, and they applied them according to the different themes that they came up with and whatever. And there is Hulk Hogan ones in there for people who are so inclined. So they do have, like I said, they even got some of the bigger names. And there is a Bret the Hitman Hart one, if someone is so inclined. But so I was like, okay, that's cool.
Okay, I don't need that card. I have that autograph.
Yeah. But I was like, nonetheless, I thought that was cool. So let me see if I can pull this one up here for us. So this is a different one that I also won. And the combination I thought was interesting. And I was appreciative of the combination. I thought, oh, this is pretty cool. Check it out.
Nice.
What do we got, Dave?
Carlos, now have a $1 Million Man autograph.
Correct. Along with Jimmy Hart.
Yeah,
That's a solid
that is a solid combination.
Solid combination. If you notice, it is ultimate signatures like the Britt Baker Penelope Ford double, and it is also purple. So purple is its own category, its own level. But yeah, this one's out of 35. I think the other one was out of 25. So they got different ones that are at least out of 45. But they got all kinds of interesting combinations. Honky Tonk Man is in the check. Like, if you know your 80s wrestling, there's a bunch of very interesting combinations in there and some interesting wrestlers that got into that checklist.
That's pretty cool.
I saw Honky Tonk Man. And then there's one that I have my eye on. There might be, allegedly, a $1 Million Man Tito Santana duel. And I was like, Tito Santana? I am amused. For the right price, perhaps. So yeah, I ended up down this rabbit hole I wasn't expecting to see. It's like, I'm for this. I approve of what's going on here.
That's cool. I have a few, actually looking at a few of them right now, and there's some nice ones here.
Yeah, there's some good combinations, some decent ones, and some of these, there's a few folks on here, by the way. This isn't hashtag invest advice, but there's a few folks on here that because AEW is coming out with its own set from Upper Deck.
Okay.
That will be a licensed set from Upper Deck that will be AEW, which will include some of the people that I've mentioned previously. And if they come into pass and all of a sudden people realize, and then they start going a back search and realize, wait a minute, there was this Leaf set in 2020 that had a bunch of these folks autograph stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, these are pretty cheap. And then they start buying them up because some of those are 35. They're limited. They're actually pretty limited in terms of the number out there. So I was like, let me buy this now while these are actually damn cheap.
I'm looking at a Sid Vicious one right now that's under $50.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like, not so bad, not so bad.
Yeah, I feel that the value of these could go insane very quickly.
Well, I can tell you the Sid Vicious I got for less than $25 Canadian. Shipped.
Yeah.
So I did all right.
Shipped, eh? That's pretty impressive.
Yep, I did okay. I did all right. So we'll talk about more offline, but I like this set. I like some of these cards. They look nice. I like them. I approve.
Agreed.
But hey, so I ended up down that rabbit hole. I thought you'd appreciate that.
I do appreciate that.
Yeah, I was like, okay, that's pretty sweet. And the autographs, I approve of this. I approve of this for reasons. But anyway, all right. So let's move on to our first topic. We must mock the local team. Let us commence the mocking of the local team.
All right. So the best part of this. So first of all, I need to clarify something, Carlos, for our listeners. All right. And what I need to say is, so PK Subban was on the Habs. I was a Habs fan before PK Subban. Then I became largely a PK Subban fan. I was very upset when he got traded to Nashville, and in response to that, I sort of cheered for him on Nashville while he was on Nashville. And then as soon as he left and was traded to New Jersey, I'm like, I don't like New Jersey. I'm not going to cheer for New Jersey. That's when that whole Nashville fling ended, right? So I was like, all right, I'm going to still refer to myself as a Habs fan, but I wasn't really. I was still angry. Then I went to Quebec City, Montreal, ate some poutine, and was back on the train. And I've been there ever since. So I need to put that out there. All right?
And there is a legendary clip of me mocking this incredibly that devolves into cackling because it's like all it took was poutine. This is it. That's all it took.
And you know what is also interesting? I don't actually like poutine. Like, it's not a thing. I don't really enjoy it that much, but we went there because they had vegan one. Like, I had a regular one, but they also had vegan ones that my wife could eat. So that's
it's even worse than I thought originally.
I don't like gravy on my fries. I like the fries. I like the cheese curds. I just don't like the gravy.
Look, I like cheese. I don't particularly care for gravy, and I like fries. Sometimes I don't need these things combined.
Yeah, that's what I'm
sometimes
saying.
I can appreciate individual components of some of these things, and it's like I don't need all of this. This is not necessary to me. But anyways,
here's the thing. So the fact that they won the series, which let's put it this way: on paper, Montreal had no business winning this series.
Yes.
And when they won Game 1, it was like, okay, we got kind of hope. And then they lost 3 in a row, and you're like, all right, I get it. This is where it's going, right? And then in both Game 5 and Game 6, they were up 2 goals. The Leafs tied it, and the Habs won in overtime, basically crushing the will to live of Maple Leafs fans and Maple Leafs, and therefore in Game 7 won it quite easily. And now we're 2 up against Winnipeg. It's a great time to be a Habs fan because none of this is expected, so everything we get from here is just gravy. Yes, the pun is kind of intended there.
Also, I should point out a quick factoid. The current streak they're on is the first 4+ game winning streak that the Montreal Canadiens have had in over 2 years.
Yes.
There's
lots of weird things going on
which caused Steve Dangle's head to explode.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
However, this is what we need to know most about this, all right? Of anything that we've talked about hockey ever, I'm about to tell the listening audience, thanks to you and somebody else with the same name as me, pointed out, this is the most important thing we're going to say ever about hockey. Are you ready for it, Carlos? Because you know what's coming.
Oh, I do.
The Leafs have not won a playoff series since 2004, which is a lifetime for a lot of people, right? I have students that I teach who have never seen the Leafs win a playoff series.
We're old.
Yes.
Please continue.
But the most important part here is the Leafs have not won a playoff series in HD.
And I'm very passionate. As soon as I saw that, that's why I had to bring it to your attention. Do you know how passionate I am about things that happened that didn't happen in HD? Things that did happen in HD, and I was screwed.
Facts. But yeah, what? And then, Facebook and all these things, Twitter wasn't invented, all these things that have happened that are pretty big in the world since the Leafs have actually won a playoff series.
Correct.
And I asked my class this week. I said to them, "Why is anybody a Leafs fan? Why does anybody root for this team? Because they're not even, you don't have that lovable loser vibe that a team like really the New Orleans Saints have had for most of their career, or the Chicago Cubs have had for pretty much their existence until they won the World Series a couple years ago."
Yeah, and the Saints are going to keep having it until they finally win a championship. It still hasn't happened. It's crazy.
And you're thinking, wait a minute, why are you a fan of this team? Because somebody else was a fan of this team? It's like there are a lot of teams that aren't going to give you heartbreak every year that also have no chance of winning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cheer for the Arizona Coyotes. You know they're going to suck.
Mostly, yes. Mm-hmm.
Right? And then if they don't, it's a great blessing, and you're kind of excited. And if they actually make a playoff series, God forbid they actually win a playoff series, it's the best thing ever, right? You want to feel good about hockey? Stop cheering for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't care who you are. If you want to feel good about hockey, you want to feel good about your life, stop cheering for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I like the dark direction that took, Dave. I'm very proud of you. Like, I feel that my corrupting influence has correctly taken hold. What horrible thing can I say that will hurt and twist a knife just a little bit more?
There's a great psychology on sports and life to be done about Toronto Maple Leafs fans, because I don't get it, right? Even Montreal Canadiens fans, yes, we can be annoying because, we'll bring out that, well, we've won more Stanley Cups than anyone else, even though they haven't won since 93. You still have that. Okay, you still got that feather in your cap, whatever, right? But Montreal Canadiens fans are realistic, right? At the beginning of we're like, yeah, the Leafs are going to win. I didn't hear a single Canadiens fan who's like, yeah, we've got this, right? There were maybe some who were like, well, there's a chance because the Leafs like to choke. Fair enough. But nobody's like, we've got this, hands down, no problem. Nobody said that. Right?
Oh, because during
realistic.
but also during the series, despite the choking thing, during the series, like every other series that goes 7 games, there's a little bit of luck involved. Because in one of the overtimes, the Canadians were outshot like 13-2.
Yes.
And one of the 2 shots went in. So it's like, mathematically, technically speaking, Toronto outplayed Montreal in that overtime. Yeah. Like they actually played better.
And the Toronto's goal, if you look at the stats, the stat line for Toronto's goalie, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's actually better than Carey Price's.
Yeah.
Which is
normally that's what gets you over the top. It's like if you have good goaltending, usually you'll win. That's usually how that works. So it's very unusual. Now, I wanted to let you have your moment, to do a very good Carlos impression. I was appreciating it. I was enjoying it.
I'm glad, man. I'm glad.
I was very proud there. Like single tier, Dave. Single tier.
Thank you.
Like, that was some fine work by you. But I must help. I must pile on because I am OG Carlos. I am the original.
Of course.
Yeah. Even Carlos Senior is not as OG as I am.
The local team without both of us mocking the
He's
local
like,
team.
even Carlos Senior is not as OG as I am, and I tell him this regularly. He's like, you are facsimile Carlos, but I was no OG.
It's kind of true.
But here's the thing, my favorite part about this. So let me tell you the story. Do you know how I watched Game 7?
No, I have no idea.
So I watched a couple of the games leading into it because like I'm paying attention, but I'm not paying super close attention. I'm just observing casually. Again, casual. My team got eliminated. The defending Stanley Cup runner-ups didn't even make the playoffs. So, I got to work with what I got. I can't be that interested. And I had very little hope for this season, and it played out kind of the way I expected it. But that's fine. So I say, all right, let me watch a couple of the games here and there. I watch Edmonton lay an egg, which I kind of expected, to be honest with you. But okay, fine, whatever. This whole Canadian division thing allowed certain teams to feel better about them, to feel themselves probably more than they deserved. So looking at it on paper, though, firepower-wise, Toronto had plenty of firepower. Like on paper, plenty of firepower. They should have been just fine in that regard, and it didn't show up in overtimes. That's when you need your firepower to take over. It's like, hey, you got a 41 goal scorer in 56 games. That's real good. Like, where are you? You're the goal scoring guy. That's kind of the thing that you do. That's the thing that you are here for. I just need one from you at the right time. But anyway, so the end result was get to Game 7. And I'm looking at them like, they are the Leafs. Could they? And I'm like, yeah, they probably could. So our good friends at Sportsnet have a YouTube channel. And one of the local television and YouTube personalities in the hockey realm is Steve Dangle. Now, what he's been doing is he's been doing live watching all the Leafs games during the playoffs. And they were going to keep this going as many rounds as the Leafs went. Well, as a result, they ended up going to Game 7. So they were going to live stream it. So they did live stream it. They live streamed the Game 7 on the Sportsnet YouTube channel. But here's the thing about the live stream on the Sportsnet YouTube channel. They're the rights holder. So you can watch the watch-along while watching the game. Because they'll put the footage on the screen because they can.
Nice.
So it is an actual watch-along. You don't need to be having a TV and then having a watch. Because
that's pretty sweet.
There were some Montreal Canadiens YouTube channels that did watch-alongs. By the way, strong numbers. I was very impressed, but they didn't have the ability to show. They couldn't show the game on the screen. They couldn't play the audio, otherwise they get pegged for copyright.
Yeah.
Well, Sportsnet doesn't have that problem. They own it. They own the rights.
Sure.
They can do whatever they want. It's their coverage. So you've got Steve Dangle in the corner talking and commenting. You've got the chat going. He's reacting to chat, talking about the game as it's happening and whatever. So I'm watching Game 7 on the watch-along. Towards the tail end, as it looks like the Leafs are about to get eliminated and the time is winding down, testament to how strong this can be. 60,000 viewers were tuned into the Sportsnet YouTube channel to watch a watch-along.
That's impressive.
I was explaining this to somebody. I said, hey, guys, you have to understand, a lot of these things are niche, but the strength of the game in the place. And also, anybody like in the U.S. probably doesn't know who Steve Dangle is. He's not like a famous person, but he's developed a certain amount of notoriety in the market. He's become and kudos to him because he built it from nothing. He just started a YouTube channel where he did Leaf game reviews. And it's funny because now the reason why he's done as well as he has is that there is an element of genuineness to it. Like, he's basically the case study of what your monologue a couple of minutes ago was. He literally is like, I don't even want to do this again next year. But he's been doing it for 14 years now. He's in his early 30s. He started when he was in his late teens, in high school, basically, as a young guy. And he's been doing it for 14 years now. And nowadays the production values are better. He works at Sportsnet, so he's actually got a gig on TV. He's parlayed it into a media job and all that. But at the same time, he's like, but I'm miserable, and I have to do these post-game reviews, and it's like, next season I'm going to be doing the Leaf game recaps if I do them, and the regular season is irrelevant because they need to do something in the postseason for it to matter. We went through all this trouble to get to a thing where then they lose in a matchup they should have won, and now long off season. So but he's parlayed that, like I said, into a TV gig. They've got a very popular podcast. Well, that watch along has been watched over 515,000 times.
Wow.
And like I said, 60,000 viewers live towards the tail end of that, just to watch, some to commiserate and some to watch the man suffer. Which is testament. It means you've done something right if people tune in to watch you either celebrate or suffer.
Yeah.
That's something. Very impressive. Kudos to Steve Dangle. And he has a book, which I've listened to. It's not a bad book for what it is. It's decent. He gives a little background on his story, but he is the definition of the suffering Leafs fan who needs the psychological help that you're referring to. And Sportsnet took advantage of this. They understood this. They did a segment, like they call it like Leafs or Blue Therapy or something, where they like literally had Steve Dangle in skits sit on a therapist couch talking with one of his buddies, trying to like talk him off the ledge after a bunch of Leaf games.
Jeez.
They understand their audience. They understand what they're playing to. So he is the physical embodiment of the suffering Leafs fan that is dealing with this idiocy and having to talk about it constantly, because basically that's become his bread and butter. He talks about this team and things related to the game of hockey and all that, but he has expanded to other areas. But he's like, he was joking with his co-host. He's like, can I just not do the LFR? He goes, no, the LFR is the thing you do. And he goes, we could talk about the other teams in the league. And he goes, no. This is the thing. This is your lot in life. This is the thing. I'm like, no. Why? So on the one hand, it built his career, and on the other hand, now he has to suffer through it.
Oh man!
I wanted to share that with you guys. I thought that would help. I thought I'd give a little additional context. But yes, I was watching the live watch along with 60,000 of my closest friends, watching a man's heartbreak. Indeed. I thought you'd appreciate that.
I do appreciate that.
Yeah, there you go. So between that and your namesake giving the stats, I think we've done some solid CanCon. #CanCon.
Yep.
Boom.
All right, cool. We've got the CanCon in. All right, Carlos.
Did it. Let's talk about something I care about more.
All right. Give me your rundown on Double or Nothing.
All right. So I have watched the Double or Nothing, ordered the pay-per-view. I enjoyed it. It was fun for what it was. It had its ebbs and flows. I don't want to spend too much time on every match, but I want to give you guys a summary of some of the stuff, and then we'll comment on anything else. So if you don't want to pay for the pay-per-view, you don't want to wait for the DVD, you don't want to go through streaming, you don't want to watch an encore presentation, whatever, I can tell you that one of the matches that I thought was really well done, was actually on the free pregame show that is available on the All Elite Wrestling YouTube channel. They had an NWA women's title match between Serena Deeb and Riho, which was very solid, really well done. And the crowd was very good at Daly's Place for this show. The crowd added a lot to the atmosphere, so it was very good. I think they had about 5,000 people, which is about capacity for Daly's Place. Because Daly's Place is just an offshoot beside the stadium. It's owned by the Jacksonville Jaguars and the family. You're muted.
It's basically an amphitheater, right?
Yeah. It's meant to be. I think it's meant to be like a concert venue adjacent to the stadium, something like that. But it works. Like, you can configure it for different things. You can do fireworks. You can still do a lot of the stuff that you'd like to do and arrange the stage in a variety of ways. They've been doing the Dynamite show out of it for months in order to deal with the pandemic thing. But you can put about 5,000 people in it, a little over 5,000 people in it if you get a capacity. And they were able to run at a capacity, and the crowd was there, and they were lively, and it added a lot to the atmosphere. I would say it was very smartly done. They did give a little bit of a buffer area, though, around the wrestling ring proper, because like the first row is basically might be AEW employees in order to keep a safe buffer between them and the audience. So, yeah. So you got some people that may be either related to or are professional wrestlers, so that when somebody gets thrown in there, they're getting thrown onto people that are prepared to catch them, allegedly.
Yes.
just saying. It's like, oh my God, he threw him in the crowd. Yes and no, sort of. They didn't pay for that ticket. They work there. But anyway, but that's fine. Like, it still works for the visual, and the rest of the crowd is normal in their sections, like whatever. So it's all good. So Serena Deeb and Riho, decent little match, because here what happens is Serena Deeb is, for those who are less familiar, you can Google her. She has a history. She was working in WWE with CM Punk originally when he was doing the like kind of a Messiah cult leader gimmick, the Straight Edge Society, and she was part of that. And then she's had her own career in wrestling and done pretty well. But she's a very good technical wrestler, and she is the NWA Women's Champion. She won that title from Thunder Rosa, who has been doing some good work with AEW as well. But she is still contracted as an NWA talent. She's still doing that. Riho is pretty good in the ring as well. But she was the inaugural AEW Women's Champion. So she's had a good run with the company. And she's very good at what she does. But her thing is always being like, she's like half the size of like a normal human being. She's like a doll size human. Okay. So it always helps when you can do, the other person being bigger, and you can play off that as a story element in any match. So in this case, Serena Deeb decided to work as a heel, and she was very good at it. She basically was really vicious, and they played a great story. It was a good, solid match. It was a good starter to get people going. And this is for the free match that they're showing on YouTube. Just to encourage people to order the pay-per-view. So for a free match, you're getting a title match with two good wrestlers who are doing some fine work. It was a really solid starter with a crowd that was already warmed up. So this is like a warm-up for the crowd as well. So it's like, great, good job, ladies, and some fine work. Mm-hmm. So Serena Deeb ended up retaining the championship. A good story being told. She basically worked the leg with a bunch of great offense, and then basically at the end got frustrated and bashed Riho's knee into the apron a bunch of times, and then applied her submission hold that would work the leg so that she could get the victory.
Right.
So good, solid starter. I wanted to take a couple of minutes to talk about it because it was a very good opening match.
Gotcha.
Okay. And at one point, the fans did chant, "This is awesome." So you got that in early on.
Solid.
All right. The opening official match on the pay-per-view was The Machine Brian Cage versus Hangman Adam Page. An excellent opening pay-per-view match for the actual pay-per-view, because you got Brian Cage, who is basically like a bodybuilder guy who can move around like a cruiserweight. So he's got a very unique skill set because he's jacked, he's gigantic. And then Hangman Adam Page has done very well. So the whole gimmick there is that slowly Brian Cage, I think, is being turned face against Team Taz, who he's involved with. Really good, hard-hitting match. There was an opportunity there at the end for Team Taz to interfere on Brian Cage's behalf. He kind of turned down the help and ended up costing him the match. Just to keep it short and sweet, but a good, solid match. So right now, 2 matches. The crowd's into it. They're hot. And the matches they're showing were good, and some storyline progression. 2 for 2 were solid here.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
All right, next one, AEW Tag Team match. So like I said, we're starting hot here because now the AEW Tag Team match, you got the Young Bucks, who are great, facing Eddie Kingston and John Moxley. Well, their music, they're over. So as soon as they play the music, the crowd is chanting along with it because Eddie Kingston and John Moxley right now is coming out to, he had a theme song that I thought was really good, but now they've been coming out to Wild Thing. If you remember from Major League, he's coming out to Wild Thing.
Oh, yeah.
Well, when the crowd is there, they're singing along with it. So, like, again, crowd participation works really well into it. So very good, solid match. They played it exactly the way you would expect it to. The Young Bucks did a lot of shameless cheating, a lot of arrogance. They did a lot of different taunts. Now, remember, John Moxley used to be in WWE as part of the Shield. Well, there was a segment
under a different name, though.
Yes, that's right. He was Dean Ambrose.
That's
now. Now, here's the thing. During one segment of it where they were beating up on John Moxley, they basically were taunting him, and their taunt was to basically do a thing where one of them got basically hoisted him up, so they were going to do it, and the other one was going to try to set him up for a power bomb, and he basically did the Roman Reigns thing. And right before that, they did the whole Shield thing with the fist bump in the middle, and then they positioned, and they were going to do the power bomb like the Shield. So
I like little bits like that where it's a nod to the wrestling fan. If you watch it's a nod to fans of wrestling, right? Because you get it.
Yeah, but the thing is, they do the being the elite, so they'll constantly make references. The world of wrestling, AEW acknowledges the existence of the outside world of wrestling. So they'll do these little. So the Young Bucks, being the jerks, are going to make taunts that are customized to their opponents.
Well, it works for their character too.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So the taunt should be customized to your opponent, specifically centered in on so this is your opponent. They were in the Shield. Let's try to use the move of one of the guys that you were running with for a couple of years that you're associated with still. People know you from that time. So it's not an accident. A lot of little callbacks like that play well into the match, into the flow. Very solid match. So again, very good. So right now, 3 for 3. Real solid matches. So the end result was they used the BTE triggers, which is basically like a double knee. It's like a double team move that ended the match. So I think he can play off like a concussion angle, and he can go away for a little while and basically take care of his newborn kid and all that business and deal with that. That gets him off TV for a little bit, gives him a legitimate reason to be off. And of course, cements, the Young Bucks as these dastardly heels that are doing these horrible things and blah, 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 and running roughshod, and until eventually somebody stops them.
Yeah.
So storyline made sense. You got a result that made sense. 3 for 3, we're solid.
Good.
Next, we get to the Casino Battle Royale. All right. So you got a bunch of different folks that came in. Casino Battle Royales, the way they do them is that they'll break them up and they'll use the casino theme. So they use playing cards. So instead of going one person at a time, they will go the spades. So these are the wrestlers that are represented by the spades. So they'll come out one after another. Now, what they did add that in previous ones I don't think they had is that now when they call out a certain grouping, it'll be 5 wrestlers, but they each get their own entrance now. Instead of just them all coming in at the same time, they'll actually get their independent entrance themes. So they get to come one after another when the group comes in. And then I think it's 3 minutes, and then the next group gets to come, 3 minutes, the next group gets to come. And then in the end, you finish with the Joker, who could be anybody. It's somebody who's unannounced. It gives you the room for the surprise entrant. Otherwise, it's a battle royale, 2 feet over the top rope, and you're eliminated.
Okay.
So straightforward. So a lot of it. So I'll quickly go through the entrants. Just list them off quickly. Christian Cage, who basically went the distance. He was in the first grouping, formerly Christian of WWE. Matt Sydal, who used to be in WWE as well, a very good high-flying wrestler. Powerhouse Hobbs for Team Taz. Matt Hardy, Isaiah Cassidy, Marquez Quen, Evil Uno, Colt Cabana, Press 10 Vance, Jungle Boy. Aaron Solo, Max Caster, Anthony Bowens, Nick Camarado, Lee Johnson, The Natural, Dustin Rhodes, Brian Pillman Jr., Griff Garrison, Penta El Zero Miedo, Serpentico, and the mystery entrant was actually Leo Rush, who had previously been in WWE. So pretty good combination of folks. The story was that, like I said, Christian Cage basically was going the distance. Now, Christian Cage, since he's come back, he really hasn't. He's had some decent matches, but he hasn't really been able to build himself up as a babyface very well. The way he came in was kind of botched. There may be a long-term story that's playing into this, But the bottom line is the way it ended up being is Matt Hardy was there at the end with Christian Cage and with Jungle Boy. And it looked like it was going to be a thing where Matt Hardy was suggesting that they gang up and team up against Jungle Boy to get rid of him. And then they'd fight each other to
Right.
win.
Yeah.
Because they had their history with TLC. Again, callbacks to the past, right?
Yep.
He goes, no, Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, like we've known each other for a long time, let's get rid of this guy and then whatever, like basically trying to team up that way, which smart,
Yeah.
Don't ignore reality in the past. Like
For sure.
that history is established. So, Christian acted like, okay. And then he basically just tricked him and then threw Matt Hardy out. And he was like, I want to win, which made sense. Now it looked like the possibility, the crowd was not so hot into the idea of Christian winning. Like I said, he may end up turning heel. I'll get back to that when I talk about the Friday show.
The crowd was behind Jungle Boy?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And I'll give a quick
Luke Perry's kid.
Yeah. No, but he's done very well. He has worked himself into quite a very good wrestler, and he's done very well for himself.
He's tiny though.
He is in relative terms, yeah. I would say so. In great shape, all things considered, and
Absolutely.
very athletic, I would say. But yeah, he is a little undersized.
Definitely does some cool things.
Yeah,
for sure.
He is very undersized. But what happened is, so in the end, they had a good back and forth, had a nice little battle, and in the end, he ended up eliminating Christian and winning the Battle Royal to win a number one contendership spot against Kenny Omega, which is going to come up in a couple of weeks, I think. So that's
Could be an interesting match.
Yeah. So the stake of this is basically you get a title shot.
All right, so you get to wrestle Kenny Omega in a little bit.
Yeah, which is good. And they've got that match announced on Friday. They announced the match for a couple of weeks from now. So good. Yeah. So there is stakes, which is good.
On a pay-per-view or on Dynamite?
I think it's going to be on Dynamite.
Okay.
Because they only do 4 real pay-per-views a year.
All right.
And what they've done, which is good. That means that you don't overdo it. You make them more special. You get to build up to the big pay-per-view.
For sure.
But as part of their deal with TNT and TBS, they're going to do probably quarterly specials. So they'll do like a special edition of Dynamite where they'll really stack the card. But it'll be on TV.
Right.
It'll be like because they're going to start moving most of their shows to TBS. And then I think the quarterly specials will be on TNT. So they'll make it a special event. We're going to have a special show on TNT, blah, blah, blah. They'll build it up ahead of time.
Yeah, for sure.
It'll be like, I think, Saturday Night's Main Event from back in the day.
Yep.
It'll be like a special show that's almost like a pay-per-view, but it's on TV. It's available for free. Everybody can watch it, which is smart. That's good. So what happened is it'll be on Dynamite. I think it'll be a good match. So good stuff. So in the end, Christian, showed Jungle Boy a lot of respect, basically said to the crowd, cheer this guy, blah, 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 and then left. And then they're starting like a little mini feud with Matt Hardy involved, angry about this whole thing. But like I said, I believe that the way the story is being told is that Christian will eventually turn on Jungle Boy, but it'll be a lot of respect in the meantime. And because Christian works better as a heel anyway, Christian just naturally works better as a heel. He's better at it. So we'll get to that, but all that out of the Battle Royal. So far, pretty good. We're rolling along nicely. Mm-hmm. Some good matches, some good stuff. Great wrestlers, good stuff. Okay, cool. Next. All right. Here is where. Oh, and one other thing I'll say about the Jungle Boy thing. His theme music. I don't remember if they changed it or not, but if they did, it worked out great for him. Because maybe Tony Khan paid for it, but there's like a song that's like
Baltimore Tarzan Boy.
Okay, so that's his theme song now.
Yeah, which it should be.
But crowd participation for that segment that I just did a couple of bars of is massive. So think of a crowd of 5,000 people who are hot, and they're all doing that after he won the Battle Royal.
For sure.
It makes him look like a star.
On a side note here,
sure.
How many seats do you think AEW could fill right now?
Oh, right now they could do 12, 15,000.
Yeah.
And they're getting back on the road in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but they're all small venue. They're all under, I believe, under 10,000.
I think you have to start small. I think you got to build yourself back up because you lost a lot of momentum from the pandemic. People are watching on TV, which is good, but you can't run to 20,000 seat arenas. If you go to, say, if you had done Double or Nothing, I think you could have run a regular 20,000 seat venue, 20,000 seat venue. I think you'd have been fine. If you've done All Out, or one of the other ones, basically one of the name ones that are better known, and run it, because I think they've got a pay-per-view coming up that's going to be in Chicago. And I think that one will be fine, because Chicago is already hot for them. They have a great history in Chicago. I think that's All Out. I could be mistaken, but
okay.
I know
so are they going to do that at the Bulls Arena?
I believe. I can answer that if you give me 2 seconds.
Okay. Sorry, I can look that up if you want, and while you tell us about the next match.
Yeah, double check that. But I believe they are running the real venue. I think it's the Sears Center or whatever. I think they're running the real venue, but you can confirm that. So this next one. So like I said, the crowd up until this point, super hot. Everything's working. All the matches have been solid. The stories make sense. Even the Battle Royal, people got the result that they liked. They appreciated the result. Wonderful. Fantastic so far. All good. The next match is the American Dream, because he borrowed the moniker of his dad. Cody Rhodes, with the Enforcer Arn Anderson taking on the Governor, Anthony Ogogo with QT Marshall. And this is where the pay-per-view grinds to a screeching, horrific halt. So here's the thing. Cody Rhodes is a very good wrestler. Anthony Ogogo has only had like 3 professional matches, and you're throwing him on a pay-per-view. He looks the part. Like he's an athlete. But there's a lot of weird little things about it. Like he was an Olympic boxer, like a real one. So he's got some legitimacy, and he looks the part, and he's an athlete, and he was an Olympian. Like all this is true. All this is legit. And with some training and some seasoning, I think this could be a very compelling matchup, but not yet. His moveset is very limited. There's not a lot he can do in the ring because he's not used to it. They ran about the best match they could. They got about as good a match out of it as they could. But number one, Cody can wrestle circles around this guy. And in the end, Cody won this match. So it's like, you're the established guy. Why do you need to win this match? And why, if you wanted to win the match, why are you putting this on the pay-per-view? Because it's not a pay-per-view caliber match. It's not worthy of a pay-per-view. And you did it on this convoluted storyline where you acted like you're Mr. America defending America from the evil Brit. And I'm like, QT Marshall is also American. And you're forcing this so hard. And there was somebody who did an excellent image that was perfect. Cody came out with this like American garb, this with a cape and the whole gimmick, because Cody is always extra.
Yeah.
As the kids would say. He's very extra in everything he does. But here's the thing. His getup was very similar to the blonde guy from The Boys. Have you seen The Boys? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay. So if you look up The Boys, that's that Amazon show.
It's
a superhero show.
Yes. I know what you mean now.
The blonde guy, who is basically the bad guy. So it's like, so one of two things. Either you're trolling everybody and you're going to become the bad guy, but you're like ham-fistedly ramming. It's like, basically, his theme music in this situation may as well have just been like, America, yeah! It's like, what happens? He's the foreign guy. Boo this man. Boo this man. And it's like, really, guys, you have to force it this hard. People don't care. Not nearly as much as you think. But they went the whole 9 yards. They had the flags. It's like, oh my God. He may as well have come out like Apollo Creed in Rocky 4. Come out to Made in America. Let's go. Do it.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. Like, who cares? I will tell you, the crowd died in this match. Died. Well, up until this point, like, I'm serious. They were literally chanting Jungle Boy's theme song. They were singing the theme song back at him. That's how hot this crowd was. And you murdered them in this match. So Cody needs to like get a clue. It's like, how about you pick your spots a little more carefully, build it up properly if you're going to do it, and give a logical conclusion. Because up until this point, this pay-per-view is running like a well-oiled machine, and you just threw a monkey wrench into it for no reason.
Right.
So anyway, that, not so great. Next match, TNT title match. The Best Man Miro versus the Murdoch Monster Lance Archer. On paper, this should have been good. This should have been a good way to get the crowd back into it. You lost a lot of momentum in the last match that really slowed things down. On paper, these guys, you got these two big hosses. You got this, potential fight with a lot of these guys that are like very physical. They're hard hitting and whatever. They just never clicked.
Right.
And they had a convoluted thing with Jake the Snake at the end and whatever. Miro in the end won. That was the correct answer. But Lance Archer is kind of a man without a clear direction.
Okay.
At some point, Lance Archer should probably be TNT champion. I don't see him as a world champion caliber guy, but he could totally be an excellent TNT champion with the correct setup. You got to figure out what you want to do. The guy looks great. He looks the part. He's a really crazy looking, like, giant guy who looks scary and who looks like he could beat a lot of people up. It makes sense. It works. You can totally push this guy in the right direction, figure out what you want to do, and make it work. And Murder Hawk Monster is a great moniker. Like, it works. This all works. Yeah. But for some reason, it did not work here. In the end, Miro won the match, which is the correct answer. Miro is doing great. He needs to move on to his next opponent. This one needs to end. The crowd wasn't completely gone for this one, but it was, they had lost a lot of momentum, and this didn't bring them back.
Right.
So, moving on from here. Next one, AEW Women's World Title match. The aforementioned Britt Baker taking on champion Hikaru Shida. This is what actually brought the pay-per-view back. So double bonus points to Britt Baker and Hikaru Shida for saving this. Now, here's the pluses. When Hikaru Shida came out, good response, good reaction. She came out. She had been champion for over a year, 370 days, done a great job. I already explained in the last podcast. I think this is not the end of the road for her. I think down the road, this was a coronation. The crowd knew it was a coronation. It was coming. When Britt Baker came out, you would have thought she was the face in this. She came out to people like cheering. She came out to the whole thing. She had the fireworks thing. Yeah. She did her pose.
She is so unbelievably over.
She's like, right now, people were ready. The people were like, we basically just need to get through this match so we can get to the conclusion. We all want the celebration at the end. So it's like the match is almost a formality. Let's just get past. Not their best match. These two have actually had a very good match in the past. And the Thunder Rosa match that Britt Baker had was also very good. These two, this combination was probably one of the matches early on in the pandemic period on Dynamite that got Britt Baker on the map by accident. Because accidentally Hikaru Shida, I think, hit her with like an elbow or something and like busted open and broke her nose. So she ended up like bleeding. So she had like bleeding on her face. But the look on her face, they put it on a shirt. It looked good because they were like, she's got this, pretty image and all this stuff. But at the same time, it's like, well, clearly she got her nose broken, kept going in the match and finished the match. So like it established a toughness that worked with her persona, and the mic work all came together, and the character kept growing and building for months after that. So basically that match started her off and got her on the map. And even in the build up to this, she did some interviews where she basically, with Jim Ross and stuff, she goes, no, I kind of thank Shida because it got me going.
Yeah.
And this is still in character. In character, she's still saying, no, this got me going. And now this is what you have to deal with because of that match, which is a great way of presenting it, where it's like, so she's basically a heel who can be cowardly at times, but almost like at random, like just for fun, almost like tongue in cheek. But at the same time, when you get to the match, you can break her nose and she'll keep going.
Yeah.
Which is good. You establish a certain toughness, which is, it sells it well. And she did the lights out match with Thunder Rosa, where Thunder Rosa won the match, but it was unsanctioned, and she bled out in that match too. And it was a very tough. She landed on thumbtacks. Ooh. So she's been. She did that promo where she basically said, now she's the hardcore legend, basically making fun of Mick Foley. And she came out with like flannel around her waist when she did it. So like little poke.
Nice.
Like I said, the promos have been on point, taking advantage of all these things and making all these things work into the character. So by this point, the crowd is into this. They're excited. They're excited to have her do her thing, and she's ready to go. Looks like $1 million, ready to go. Match was decent. It was hard hitting at moments. It had its certain things but it was kind of a little awkward the way we're getting about it. They were struggling to get the match where they wanted it to go. It was okay, but the result worked because they had a bunch of near falls. They got a little too cute with the gimmicks and the different things, because at one point, Rebel, the one who's with Britt Baker, was going to hit Hikaru Shida with her crutch, with the one she goes out the ring with, but Hikaru Shida reversed it. Britt Baker went head first into the ropes, and Rebel clocked her with the crutch, and everybody's like, wait, does that mean she loses the championship match when we're expecting a coronation, whatever? But then Britt Baker. So remember what I said, like this weird combination. So Britt Baker gets hit in the head with a crutch, which probably should have been the knockout shot.
Right.
Hikaru Shida then hits her with a follow up, basically drives her head into the ground, pins her, and then gets a 2 count. And then they try to reverse cheat and try to beat Shida that way by hitting her with the belt or something. I forget the exact sequencing there, but then Shida kicks out. So now you've both tried to cheat and it went against you and you kicked out. Hikaru Shida, you tried to cheat on her, it kicked out. So the interference didn't play into this. Rebel got kicked out, so she's gone. And then it looked like Shida was going to beat her because you hit her with the running knee. You hit her with this other thing, and it looked like that was the end of it. And then Britt Baker was able to reverse it, get her into position.
Too many sort of false finishes?
The false finishes can work, but literally there was cheating, and it didn't end up with a result. The end result was a reversal, get her into position, hit the lockjaw, Now, the good news is, like I said, the crowd was hot. So when she got on the lockjaw, the crowd knew the moment was nigh. It was only seconds away. So the crowd started to freak out. And then she'd have tapped out. Music hit. Crowd went crazy. There were DMD signs and everything in the crowd. Like I said, this crowd was ready for Britt Baker to win. So they were jacked up for it. So when the music hit, everybody was good. Celebration in the ring, a short celebration in the ring, holds up the title. And then Tony Schiavone was over in the side. And this played well into the show with the pay-per-view. Because Tony Schiavone is one of the people that had helped Britt Baker with this character a lot in the back. So kind of did a little pulled behind the fourth wall just a little bit because Tony Schiavone was there. He had been kind of the friend, but at the same time, Britt Baker treats him like shit. But he's also the one who really helped her behind the scenes with the character and everything. So at that moment, they hugged at the end, and so now they're kind of best friends again. But Tony Schiavone is supposed to be a face announcer, but she's a heel. But he's like one of her big supporters.
Yeah,
it creates this weird dichotomy where it's like, look, whatever, roll with it. But it was a good moment because it in the end they got the result they wanted and it worked.
Yeah, for sure.
So very good. I will say that on Friday, I'll get after I finish the pay-per-view review. I won't touch on the whole show because most of it's not consequential. But they did have the championship celebration, and they might be setting up her next opponent. And I have questions, but I'll get to that in a second. Okay, but overall, not their best match. Good enough to get the job done. Got the correct result. The crowd was hot for the finish. They brought him back, and this saved them so that they could continue the pay-per-view. Cody tried to kill him, but they were able to bring this one back. In this match, they got the crowd back. So very good. Next match was good, and it's a great thing that they were able to get the crowd back because the next match was a solid one. It was Darby Allin and Sting taking on Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. Good little match. Darby Allin got murdered. He got thrown into the crowd he got thrown like 20 feet into the crowd and like landed on people. Like I said, that's why I said it helps to have plants. People that are there, it's like, we'll save you. But it looked fantastic because he went flying like 20 feet from the ring to the outside. Darby Allin's a daredevil, but like he will break his neck on one of these stupid stunts. He's crazy. Most impressive piece. The crowd was totally into Sting. Sting jumped off some of the poker chips into Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page early. So all of a sudden people are like, Sting's gonna do shit. Holy crap!
Dude, 62.
No, but like he hadn't been wrestling in 6 years. He hadn't wrestled a real match in 6 years. So people were like, the assumption was, okay, Darby Allin's going to do most of the work. Sting will do a couple of things here and there. Sting actually did a lot. He did his stinger splashes. He did a little bit of he had involvement in a bunch of offense. He was in it.
How many bumps did he take?
A fair number. All things considered, actually very impressive. And what I would say is the closing sequence involved him reversing one of the moves from, I think, Scorpio Sky, and then he hit him with the Stinger death drop, and then got the 3 count that way. So Sting got the finish. Looked pretty good. I wouldn't have him wrestle all the time. Special occasions, but he basically showed that he could wrestle in the right scenario, maybe a tag team setup or something like that, or a multi-man, and he can hold his own. He can be there for a hot tag, do what he needs to do. He can still move. For 62, he was moving in the ring pretty good. I was actually very impressed how well he moved, and he took bumps, and he jumped off the poker chips onto the guys, which was that was before they even rung the bell. So people are like, oh, he's going to do shit. Interesting. Cool. So the crowd was into that. So the crowd was very happy. They basically left the crowd. So again, the ladies match brought him back, and then this kept the momentum going. It's like, okay, great. Okay, Cody Rhodes is gone. Awesome. Now we can get back to cheering. I'm not trying to pick on Cody Rhodes, but he really did kill that crowd with that match. And these 2 matches brought them all the way back, which is very good. Next one. So 2 co-main events. First one, triple threat match. Kenny Omega, Orange Cassidy, the Bastard Pack. Great match. Three-way match. Fantastic. Good stuff. No countouts, no disqualifications. Because of that, they did have some silliness at the end, but it was no DQ, so at least it made sense. It was fine. Okay. I won't go into everything that happened in it because it was a lot. But the point is, the crowd was in it. There was Fight Forever and This Is Awesome chants towards the end because these 3 guys know how to go. All 3 guys know how to do it. It looked like Orange Cassidy was going to win. And there was a sequence there where Kenny Omega hit, I think it was Pac, or maybe it was Kenny Omega, I forget. It was one of them. But he hit them with basically every belt he had, except he hit one of them. And it was the same person. I forget if it was Pac or if it was if it was Orange Cassidy, but he hit him with the AAA title. Then he hit him with the Impact title. Then he hit him with the TNA title. Then he was about to hit him with the AEW because he's got so many damn belts.
Right.
So it's like he was gonna hit him with the fourth one, and then I think it was Pac, because I think then Orange Cassidy came in with his punch, with his Superman punch. But in the end, Kenny Omega won, retained the title, and continued from there. Good match though, real solid match from those three guys. They know how to work. So okay, so after that, Tony and Schiavone. So to give everybody a quick breather, Tony Schiavone was in the ring to announce that the world's strongest man, Mark Henry, will be an analyst on Rampage, which is going to be their new show.
Which I'm a big fan of Mark Henry, so I'm good with this one.
Yeah, so good stuff. Kept it real simple. Just introduced him, let him stand out in the crowd for a second, bow.
Although his appearance on Dynamite, the way it was interrupted, it was ugh.
Oh, on Friday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, but here's the thing.
Can we just not have Vicky Guerrero talk ever?
But
I'm sorry. But here's the thing. That was like, here is my WWE shtick in AEW. It's like, okay, it was there and it did its thing, and it was annoying. I mean, it's always been annoying, but now I feel it's even more so.
Yes, Turbo. The reaction you have is the exact reason why.
Please stop. Please stop.
That's literally the reason why.
The problem is, that's the moment I'm going to go get a snack or go to the bathroom or whatever, and I'm going to miss something. Then I'm going to miss Andrade.
Yeah. I was like, but the thing is, now she's got a stable with Andrade, and Andrade looked like $1 million. Like he came out. It's funny. He came out kind of a little Latin Ric Flairish, if you follow what I'm saying. A little limousine riding, jet flying, kid stealing, wheeling, dealing,
Alligator shoe wearing.
I can't say. I can neither confirm. Well, he's dating Charlotte, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and she was very happy with it. She was very supportive on social media of it, because she doesn't care. That's why. What are they going to do? She's Charlotte Flair.
Yeah.
But no, he looked fantastic. He looked like $1 million. And here's the thing. I want to get back to that. Let's come back to Andrade in 2 seconds. I'll finish off what we got here.
Yeah. So you're going to talk Stadium Stampede? Yeah.
Real quick. I'll keep it simple. Most of it was cinematic. They did it in multiple days, multiple takes. Pretty solid. Pretty good cinematic match, I would say. Very smart of them to give the guys pairing off their own segments, different parts of the stadium, different backgrounds, different images. It kept it from being too monotonous. They cut it in such a way where they didn't spend too much time with anybody, so that everybody would have their time and their shine. They even had friggin' Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
Who's the
honestly, part of me feels like this match was just set up for an Urban Meyer cameo,
and it worked. It was good, and it was with Jericho and MJF, which is the correct answer. If you're going to do it with somebody, you do it with Jericho and MJF. Now the other guy, the assistant coach, also threw footballs Jericho's way so he could hit MJF with them, which is hilarious. I enjoyed it. I would recommend, if you can find it, go watch the cinematic match. It was funny, but it was long, but it was good because they cut it in such a way where they didn't spend too much time with anybody to let it get monotonous and boring. They would switch between the different people, and intelligently, they designed it in such a way where the end of the match would actually go back into the live crowds. So they didn't force the crowd to watch the entire thing on screens. Eventually, they incorporated so that, because again, it's shot in the stadium, so they can do it in such a way where when the moment is right, you see them on the screen walking through a walkway or a doorway or whatever, and then all of a sudden, they're live in the arena doing, continuation from what you just saw a second ago on the screen. It's like, well, now they're coming into this arena. And it ended in the ring with Sammy Guevara and Shawn Spears. So very good finish. So putting it back physically in the venue was very wise for the conclusion. You want to have the celebration in there. So the Pinnacle did lose to the Inner Circle. Their feud will kind of continue, but I think they're going to branch them off into individual parent groupings, which is fine. I will say the part in the bar with Santana and Ortiz and FTR was hilarious, because they basically got into a bar fight and then basically they had a moment where they just sat there at a table drinking, and then right after that they immediately started a bar fight and they're hitting each other with everything. And at one point, it's cinematic, so you can mess around. You've got extras and people that get beat up and everything, and then all of a sudden you stop and there's a music break quickly, and you zoom in and it's Conan, and Conan is the DJ, because of course he is.
Of course.
He just happens to be there and he's a DJ now. So it's really? Conan? Okay. That's why I say, in a cinematic match, you can have some fun and do a couple of things. And literally, in one segment, you had Shawn Spears in a room surrounded by chairs.
Yes, I did see. I did see that.
Nice. Nicely done, guys. Nicely done. So you could have a little fun with it. I was okay with it in the way they shot it. In the way they shot it, I was okay with it. I still don't understand why the Stadium Stampede match happened before Blood and Guts. I still feel like your order was reversed. But whatever. Fine. Sure. Great. Good for what it was, though. Good for what it was. Fun match to conclude the pay-per-view on. So that was Double or Nothing. Overall, like I said, top to bottom, except for the screeching halt attempt by All-American champion Cody Rhodes, trying to wreck this thing in the middle. Everything else, I think, worked for the most part. I was very pleased.
Good stuff.
So there's a relatively detailed review, even though I tried to skim over some stuff. Second thing, though, talking about the Andrade thing. I look forward to it. I'm very curious to see what they're going to do with him. It's just another really good worker that you can have in there. Like, just imagine a triple threat with Andrade, Pac, and Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
That'd be sick. Or a one-on-one match with him and Kenny Omega. Or a one-on-one match with him and Pac. Like, I can build you a bunch of matches that are going to be awesome. So it's just having another guy who's on that caliber who can have matches like that. The potential's great. And if he's going to do like this Latin Ric Flair kind of deal, coming in with his suits and, strutting in and all that, like, hey, why not? It'll be fun. It'll be something different.
Yeah.
It was just very funny the way they presented him is like, because presumably the reason that he was released from the WWE is because Vince didn't trust him. It didn't think he could cut an English promo. So of course, Vicky Guerrero is going to be the predominant mouthpiece to your joy and chagrin, to your joy. But the thing is, then she gave him the microphone, short and sweet, very quick statement, got the point across, handed back the microphone. He can speak some English. It's just like it's not his first language, but like he can get a point across if his job is just to convey a couple of simple things.
But you can make it work.
Of course.
Right? That's the thing. That's one of my issues with WWE right now, but I guess but there's so many things that they give up on certain people way too easily.
But that was the whole point of the mouthpiece. The point of having a mouthpiece is if the person can't talk or they're not great at it or whatever, you get somebody who is great at it. And then their job is to
and then you make sure you focus really in on what they need to say, and you make sure it's well choreographed or practiced ahead of time. There you go.
Well, here's the thing.
If need be.
Brock Lesnar has been your champion a bunch of times since he came back to WWE a couple of years back. And Paul Heyman is predominantly the one who talks.
This is true.
And Brock Lesnar, by the way, could talk. He did his own promos in UFC. He didn't have a mouthpiece. He can talk if he wants to. But they're like, yeah, I kind of don't feel like it. Just let Paul Heyman do it. Great. Paul Heyman's an excellent talker. Of course, he can do it. That's not an issue. It's fine. And who's the guy who's the most over in WWE right now? Roman Reigns? Who does he got with him? Paul Heyman. By the way, Roman Reigns can talk too. I've listened to him do some promos and stuff. He can be menacing. He's fine. He knows how to talk. But he's still got Paul Heyman there to do the bulk of the discussion for him. Let Roman focus on very specific things. When he says something, it's very menacing, very threatening, gets the point across, then Paul Heyman carries the load. And these are guys who can talk. So imagine if you put him with somebody like actually who isn't very good at it. Well, then help. Bring him some help. Yeah, that's what Selena Vega was supposed to do.
Especially if you have really good in-ring ability.
Of course. Let them do the part they're good at and then help them with the other part.
Yeah.
Complete the package.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's like, it's a testament to how WWE has dropped the ball. So anyway, one last thing I'll mention as well. The coronation ceremony with Britt Baker on the show was good. I don't like that they're implying that Nyla Rose would be starting a feud. Like, you know what the problem is with this, right? Britt Baker is a heel. Just to be clear, she is a heel. She literally was making fun of them with cheeseburger coupons. Like, she's a heel. And Nyla Rose is a heel who is in the Vicky Guerrero stable. No one's going to cheer for Nyla Rose over Britt Baker, and you don't want to turn Britt Baker now. Now is not, all this momentum is because she's been doing this excellent work as a heel.
Yeah.
She should be a heel champion for some time. Leave her alone. Find somebody else. Mm-hmm. I can give you a bunch of opponents, not in this order. I would like to see a program with her and Chris Statlander. I think that can work. I think you need to set that up. You don't have to start with it, but give her somebody for the next couple of weeks or the next month just to keep her busy, and then start lay the groundwork for Chris Statlander. That's going to be a good feud. You can do that. Well, you can bring back Penelope Ford, who's probably going to be a face when she comes back. So you could have that match if you want. So she can have some opponents, and then eventually rematch with Thunder Rosa. She did some great work with Thunder Rosa. But don't do it right away. So put some
you got
people in
lots of
between.
options.
Yes, absolutely. Take advantage of this. There's options in between. Let her have some good little mini feuds just to start things. But Nyla Rose is not the answer. No. Abort.
Yeah.
Do you hear me what I'm saying? Abort.
For sure.
So not a fan of that. Anyway, so speaking of dropping the ball, shall we move on to WWE?
Yes. So here's my question, Carlos.
Go for it.
Since WWE has now released yet more talent, my question for you is, which of the following is the most likely thing that's going on here? Is it A, that they're cutting costs so that WWE for sale? Is it that they have no idea what they're doing and they're just letting people go they don't think are worth anything anymore? Or is it something else? What is going on, Carlos, with the continued big name talent that is being, for example, recent people that have been let go by WWE? Samoa Joe, Braun Strowman, right? Both Iconics, right? Mm-hmm. Peyton Royce and Billy Kay.
Billy Kay, yep.
Right? There's some names here, Carlos, and some talented people as well. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Who maybe
and Braun Strowman.
Yeah, but Braun Strowman was making a lot of money.
He was. Reportedly 1.2 million. So I can give you 1.2 million reasons why Braun Strowman is no longer.
Yeah, well, that's fair. I mean, if you're thinking that maybe he's not really as talented as you think, or he's not as over as you'd like him to be, and he's making 1.2 million dollars, that one maybe makes some sense.
Yeah, but let me touch on that. So let's take a couple angles of this. Let me present two cases for you.
All right.
And then we'll kind of let's work through it a little bit here. So the result of the most recent one. So in addition to Braun Strowman, which like you mentioned, and the Iconics and everything, that was in the recent set previously. In the most recent set, you had Aleister Black, who had literally just gone back on TV after the longest time.
And was kind of building to something as well.
Yeah, like he was literally this past week on TV prior to being released. Like you just started doing something with him again after leaving him on the shelf for God knows how long for no reason. He was healthy. He could have wrestled this whole time. And then you just started something and literally released him. For reasons.
Because, Vince just wants all the wrestlers. I'm
going to get to that. So I'm going to get to that because that's going to play into one of the two scenarios. So let's work this through. And the other one that should be included as well is Ruby Riott, who was really well loved by the women's locker room. She's done a lot of work with a lot of them behind the scenes and in front. She was never really used very much and she was a very good wrestler when she was hired by the company. In their round of, catch 'em all Pokemon style, I just want every wrestler that's out there that has any talent.
Can I make a comment though? Because I feel I need to mention this because I find this is very interesting, and I'm pretty sure there's no connection here, or whatever. But it's a nice angle which I wanted to get out. So the most recent video game that WWE of their 2K whatever is 2K20,
sure,
which I own, which is glitchy as hell. All right.
Mm-hmm.
However, it has a very good story mode, where you create a couple of wrestlers, you create a female wrestler and a male wrestler, and there's a story that you play through.
Okay.
All right. So basically from them getting trained to them becoming WWE Hall of Famers at the end.
Sure.
Right? That's the story. Okay.
Career mode, yeah.
Right? Literally every single person that they face off in that is no longer with WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So one of their first matches are Winterfest in Calgary, and they face Peyton Royce. Gone. There's another angle later on where Mickie James is about to get released from the company. So they have this angle that as long as she keeps winning, she can stay on the show. Okay?
That's dark.
I know. Gone. Right? Also, super foreshadowing.
Okay.
But gone. Okay? The male feud, the big thing that builds up throughout the game and you spend quite a considerable amount of time on is against Samoa Joe, who ends up getting a bionic arm, which is kind of interesting. But anyway, which didn't happen in real life.
What is he, Jax from Mortal Kombat? What the hell?
But he also got released. And the more I played it, and then there's other people that aren't, such as Kurt Angle, who's in it, but obviously he's not with them anymore.
Yeah, he's been gone for a while.
Paul White is in it as well. And then obviously he's gone to AEW. So it's very interesting that basically every single character, other than the fake characters who aren't real to begin with, is pretty much gone from WWE. Or if they're not gone, like The Rock's gone, or Undertaker, they're not wrestling anymore. So literally everyone is gone. It doesn't wrestle for WWE. And the more I was playing it, and the more these things are happening, this is really weird.
So are you
And
saying
yes, Braun Strowman is one of the characters that you play against as well?
I was gonna say, it's like, so what you're saying is we need to keep an eye on 2K 2021, and if somebody's
2022, because there is no 2020.
Okay, fine. Well, whatever the next game is,
yes,
in the career mode, if one of these wrestlers realizes they're like, no,
right? Well, yeah, that's what, because they've announced, I think, 4 or 5 people. Like, obviously, there's going to be way more, but they've announced 4 or 5 people that are going to be in the next WWE game, like playable people. So Bailey and some other wrestlers. That's the only name that I can remember, but there's others on that list. So is Bailey the next one who's going to be released?
The good news is it's not all lost. The good news is if Bailey does get released, they would be stupid to do that. She's very good. But if she did, good news. Battle of the role models against Dr. Britt Baker DMD. Yes. Because she went by the moniker of the role model, and Britt Baker is the role model. It's like Battle of the Role Models.
That would be good. That would be a great angle.
Like, we're done. Done. Guys, I just booked it for y'all. We're done. Listen, I just built the greatest women's title reign of all time for you. Done. Took care of it.
Fact.
It's easy. But it could be interesting. I think it'd be fun. That's a very interesting twist. I didn't see that one coming. But let me quickly build the case that I was talking about. Okay. So let's pretend you say no, he's never going to sell. Reasons why you would think so. Well, he's Vince McMahon. He's a control freak, obviously.
And this is Vince McMahon, right? WWE is Vince McMahon. The man doesn't really do anything else.
Yeah. Like, he has no other talents, and it's questionable if he even has this talent at this point. But regardless, like, he's attached to it. Also, his family's in it. Like, Stephanie and Shane are there, and blah blah blah, and they can inherit the company.
Triple H.
Yeah. So that's a couple of the arguments for. And they built this empire, and he can take advantage of it and do all this. That's gonna be part of it. And this is what he's built his empire off of. Like, it's all this. So it could be as simple as he's built his empire. He doesn't want it to go anywhere. Now, one of the problems is that he has is that he's put into a position of power a guy named what's the name? It's something Khan.
Yeah, the guy from Disney, or he's the Hollywood guy.
It's Nick Khan. I want to make sure I got the right one. So Nick Khan,
not to be confused with Tony Khan, which is important in this story.
Yeah, but it's been kind of funny. So the problem is we got 2 Khans. It just makes things confusing. Like, we're confused here.
But also makes it more epic.
It does. It's the battle of the Khans. But the funny thing is,
so it's the whole thing is they're not actually been released. They're actually still being paid. The whole thing's kayfabe, and it's setting up a battle of the Khans.
Bro, that'd be the greatest thing of all time. Just saying. We may get the battle of the role models yet. AEW Invasion. No. Anyway, so
because the WCW Invasion works so well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, yeah. No. And if I was going to book it, I'd book AEW to go over. Sorry. Roman Reigns, you're losing, but done.
Agreed.
Yeah. Anyway, so here's the deal. Nick Khan presumably has a lot of influence, and his job would be predominantly so if you want to make the argument that it's not a sale thing, Nick Khan's position would still be to try to make the company as profitable as possible. How do you make it as profitable as possible? You cut unnecessary costs. For a long time, to your point earlier, Vince was doing the Pokemon Gotta Catch 'em All. He would literally get people who he had no plans to do anything with ever and got them to long contracts just to keep them away from the competition. Nick Khan, who's walking in going like, this is stupid. If we're not going to do anything with them, we've got 5 billion people under contract. Let's use the ones we're going to use, and if we don't need them, cut them loose. A basic cost-cutting measure. So that could be one scenario. It could be like, no, they're not going to sell anything, but like they just looked at it and go like, hoarding all this talent for no reason is actually really dumb. It's very expensive. We could be even more profitable if we did nothing more than just let these people go and let them get jobs wherever they can get them.
Yeah.
Let's move on. And then just use the people you got. Or cheaper people or whatever. So that could be one scenario. That's scenario one. And then the idea is to make it more profitable so that then when Stephanie and Shane take over, then they've got a more streamlined version of the company. And if they want to sign somebody after, they could potentially sign them maybe for less money, renegotiate the deal, whatever. So that's scenario one. Scenario two, they are kind of setting it up for sale. And that would be that could be indicative of, yes, it is Vince's, it is Vince's life's work, but he's always wanted to have success in other categories, and maybe Nick Khan can help him build some of these other categories. So he's focusing his attention on that. So he'd like to focus his money on that. Maybe he'd like to cash out for as much money as possible. Maybe Shane and Stephanie were interested, sort of, but at the same time, they're like, well, things are about as good as they're going to get. Our TV deals are as good as they're going to get. The numbers are falling. We've sold off the network already to Peacock for $1 billion over the next 5 years. That ain't getting better. The ratings have been dropping despite everything we've got, even though we've got all this stuff. So now we've got these costs. We may as well drop these costs, sell it to somebody, let them deal with it. Let it be their problem. Because even Shane and Stephanie, and I'll look it up here if I can find it. Stephanie, what you have to understand is Stephanie's 44, which is not old. Not old at all.
No.
But she's got 3 kids with Triple H. And the thing is, okay, so if the idea is to keep it in the family, I'm just throwing out a scenario. If the idea is to keep it in the family, how long until the kids are old enough, assuming they're interested, how long until they're in any position to do anything? So the oldest of the daughters, because they got 3 daughters, was born in 2006. So she'd be 20 in 5 years. So realistically, at 20, you're not going to put her in charge of anything.
No.
Because that wouldn't even follow with Stephanie's path, where she started off relatively low rung in the ladder and then eventually moved up to being an executive and whatever.
Yeah, but by the time, Stephanie theoretically is ready to give it up, then the daughter would be old enough.
Theoretically, that's the thing. Like that I posed the question. The question I posed is, so by the time, so let's say you say she wants to start really taking an interest in the business around the time. So Stephanie became regularly on TV in 1999. At that time, she would have been 23. So let's say you follow a path like that. And at that point, she didn't have any real power inside the company. She was just getting started. So, okay, so you do that. So that's about 8 years away, give or take, from even at the baseline, basic level. So realistically, you're probably talking like 10, 12 years. So, okay, so that means Stephanie would be in her late 50s. Triple H would be in his 60s. Are they still going to run that way? Would they want to? And by the way, WWE may have peaked. They've got all these revenue streams and stuff. Like, that's great, but it's like, okay, by the time maybe the kids are firmly implanted in there, the oldest, realistically in her early 30s, whatever the case may be, assuming, again, they want to, you're talking another 15 years, give or take? What happens if the company's not in great shape in 15 years because of you kind of run it into the ground? Not from a financial standpoint because you've got all these revenue streams, but a lot of them are contingent upon numbers which are dropping all the time. The ratings aren't getting better. The streaming numbers aren't getting, because Peacock is actually kind of crummy. People in the US don't really like it. It's a value add, but at the same time, like, you're not really getting value. At a certain point, it's like, do you even want to watch this show? Oh, you can watch reruns of the shows. Do you even want to? You want to pay for that? Really? What about pay-per-views? Which one do you want to watch? Which superstar? You haven't built a superstar in years. Who do you want to watch? You're going to have to just keep bringing back John Cena? Is that your plan? See if The Rock will come back out of pity? Like, what are you going to do?
50-year-old Rock versus Roman Reigns.
The thing is that's been pitched, which should tell you. They've even pitched bringing back Goldberg, who's been shitty. Like, he's been shitty for years. He was never a good wrestler. It's just because of his name. That's it. Like, the fact that you keep having to go to these quote-unquote legends of the past and keep having to bring back The Undertaker out of rigor mortis, you keep having to drag him back out all the time, like, you are not building anybody. So what is this brand supposed to do going? Your brand is 100% nostalgia at this stage. You're relying on the past. You're relying on, remember Stone Cold Steve Austin? Remember the Attitude Era? It's been a long time, guys. I do remember the Attitude Era. The problem is, when the Attitude Era started, I was in high school. Mm-hmm. It's been a while.
Yeah, just a little bit.
So, like, you can't be working off that forever. You're not going to get people's money on that. Like, I'm sorry, guys. A lot of the stuff you did that was really good ended 20 years ago. It's not the end of the world. True. It's like, it happens, but you got to evolve. They evolved from a from a financial standpoint. Like I said, they got all these revenue streams. They found a billion ways to do it. And think of these cuts. Again, from a financial standpoint, they all make sense.
Yeah.
But from a long-term perspective, what is the image that you're portraying now? People know these people got fired. Sometimes some of these people were fans of these people. So they go like, so you fired my favorite, who you weren't doing anything with anyway. So I was frustrated about that, but then you fired them and sent them off to go figure out their own life now. They got to go figure out how to make money and live. And you basically tied them up for years, didn't use them for anything, let them become devalued from basically neglect. And then they're off to do. And some of them are going to land on their feet. They're going to go to AEW or where Impact or wherever they go. And then all of a sudden they're like, they look great. They can still wrestle. They're still good. What the hell happened the last 5 years? Oh, it was WWE. Right. Well, there's a bunch of people that are sitting there. They're not being done anything with anyway. So that's going to hurt to a certain degree your ability to sign certain talents. There are talents who are like, yeah, I'm not going to WWE. They offered me a lot of money, but I know what happens. Word gets around. These wrestlers also talk together. They go, yeah, I signed a big contract for 5 years. I got paid well, but I was sitting on my ass in catering. I was, world champion at this organization. I was doing all this stuff. I was the hottest free agent. And then I came in and 5 years later, I'm no longer the hottest free agent. I'm ice cold.
Yeah.
My value going forward, I'm going to have to rebuild it. Because it's like I lost all my momentum I had because I've been sitting for 5 years doing nothing. People thought I was dead. So the argument could be made that it is an asset that is very still valuable now, but it is a depreciating asset that you could cash out and have yourself set up for generations. And then maybe pursue other projects and things. Maybe Shane wants to do something else. He's already tried other projects. Maybe Stephanie wants to try something. They could do that. Now, I'll give you one more scenario that still falls under the sale category. So I gave you the no sale, and I gave you a whole reason basis for sale. Let me give you one more. Here's a scenario that could play out as well. Vince McMahon is the GOAT of carnies.
True.
However, there is a young lion who we've discussed in the past, a man who may have been involved with Fight Island, who has tried in his own ways to take up the mantle of GOAT of carnies. He's the young buck trying to work his way up the chain to be in that pantheon of carnyism. And you know who this is, don't you?
Of course.
Our friend Dana White.
Yep.
But here's the cool thing. Dana White and the Fertitta brothers sold out Zuffa, right?
Yes.
They sold it. Who's in charge of the UFC?
I don't know specifically.
Dana White.
Right. Sorry. Yeah. So.
But they sold it. So why is he still in charge? So they made the money and they're still in charge. What if you did that?
Yes, that's fair.
That's another way. Like maybe you're like, okay, well, do you guys want to run it? It's like, well, no. Would you be willing? Yeah, I'll run it. Cut us a check.
I don't. Yeah, I maybe it's possible. I could see that.
That's like a middle ground. I'm offering an alternative.
I don't think that's what's going to happen, and I don't think that's what's all going down. But it is intriguing possibility.
I'm giving you the UFC Zuffa example. It is another way because it just depends on whether you have somebody who feels comfortable that they can take over. Because it could be a thing where you sell out, you get the money, and then it's like nobody's ready to take it over right away, and you just run it for 5 or 6 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's a couple of ways you can arrange this. You don't have to sell out everything, but selling out, remember, it's still a publicly traded company. They don't own 100%. They own the voting majority share, but as soon as they go below 50%, then they're no longer majority owners. Somebody else technically is in control.
Yeah.
But they can still have stock in the company. So that you can play both sides if you want to, technically relinquishing control, but still being like, well, as long as you'll have me and as long as you'd like me to run it, here's the plan. Here's what I plan to do. Are you cool with that? Yeah? Okay, great. We know they know how to make money. That part's easy, but the show has suffered as a result of a lot of the stuff that they've done.
Yes.
And like I said, it is something where this would be the analogy I use. They've built this beautiful house, this mansion. It's got all the fixings. It's been renovated a bunch of times. It looks gorgeous. It's great. But all this time, the foundation is rotted all the way. You can't see it because you have to go to the basement and look. Oh, by the way, this foundation is completely rotted. Oh, what happens then? Well, it means this building could collapse at any moment. It looks beautiful. Like everything here is brand new. This is great. You got a brand new chandelier. You got all this, wonderful stuff, state of the art, this, that, and the other thing. But actually, the foundation is completely rotted out, and this building could collapse anytime. I'm not going to stand here. Good luck to you.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's basically WWE in a nutshell. Like, it looks glitzy, it looks glamorous. They've got all the pieces, but it's like you haven't built stars in years, like real stars, crossover stars. There's no Stone Cold Steve Austin. There's no Rock, even Triple H to a lesser degree. There's no Undertaker. Undertaker debuted in 1991. None of those people are coming out you haven't built anybody. Roman Reigns is probably the closest thing you have, but he's not a crossover star that way. He's not moving the needle. He's not changing the business right now. He's doing very well. He's doing a good job. And he's probably the best of what they got, but it's not the same.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, that's the reason why I just say it's like.
And quite frankly, I'd rather watch Becky Lynch than I'd rather watch Roman Reigns wrestle.
Sure, but the thing is, Becky Lynch is not going to by herself sell it, because here's the thing. I'll give you one more thought about kind of why I would say maybe this would be something maybe they would consider selling and just getting out of it. Okay, Becky Lynch has probably done about as good a job making herself as big a star as anybody there. Okay?
Yeah, for sure.
Here's the question.
Although she's not wrestling right now because she's on maternity leave.
No, I get it. But she's done about as good a job as anybody there. Here's the thing. What is the state of the women's division?
Not great.
Do you think Becky Lynch would fix that?
Probably not.
No.
I mean, I also have no faith for anybody to really fix it.
But my point is, they actually don't care about the women's division.
Do you want to fix something? Go to AEW and wrestle Dr. Britt Baker DMD.
No, but the point is, if you think about it, AEW.
Dude, I want Bayley versus Britt Baker role model match. I want it, Carlos. I want it.
Like I said, it's money, people. It's money.
You know what? Can I mention this?
Go ahead.
There was also an angle with Bayley in WWE 2K20. So she hasn't been released yet, but she was in the video game.
Look, role model versus role model. I like book it. But the thing is, AEW is criticized, and deservedly so, at the outset for their initial buildup of the women's division, because the original women's division was crummy. It was garbage. And here's the funny thing. I will not allow revisionist history to be brought here. Britt Baker was the first female signee that AEW had. Maybe 6 months to a year into that, she was seen as a bust. It wasn't working. What happened? They have a lot of experienced hands there. They all looked at it and go like, okay, it's not working. Do you want to try being heel? She had never been a heel before. You wouldn't know it because she's doing a very good job of it. She had never been a heel at any point in her career. But you know what she's got? She's got Jerry Lynn in the back who helps out with the in-ring. Her in-ring needed some polishing too, but you got Jerry Lynn who is a great wrestler. He knows how to wrestle. Dean Malenko who knows about wrestling. Oh, by the way, some of her best stuff early on as she started building that heel persona, she started talking about conspiracies. You want to know who was a heel that complained about conspiracies back in the day?
Who?
Chris Jericho. You may have heard of the guy.
Yep.
Le Champion. He's kind of employed at that company. She's done interviews where she's
kind of a big deal.
Yeah, but she's done interviews where she's like, yeah, the conspiracy thing, like Jericho mentioned that, and he's like, you could try this. And she's like, do you mind? He goes, no, go for it. Give it a go. Try it out. Worked beautifully. The role model thing, like Chris Jericho has had some suggestions, some input, which she has employed. Tony Schiavone, who's been in the wrestling business for 35, 40 years, he's helped out with some of the promo stuff. Like, think of how many experienced hands I just named off.
Yeah. No, I think I think to her credit too, she's listened, right?
Yes.
She's not saying I can do that, right? The key is she's listening to the seasoned veterans.
Yep. And they've all contributed and they've all given ideas. And by the way, you know who's the predominant trainer of the women?
I do not.
The natural Dustin Rhodes, who is a great wrestler. He knows how to. He's still wrestling now. He's 500 years old. He's still wrestling, and he was in the main event of Friday's show. But he still knows how to get it done in the ring. Like, he understands how to get it done in the ring. So, like, he's been wrestling forever. So the thing is that you've got all these experienced hands who can contribute and add all these different elements. And if you're willing to incorporate it, here's the thing. AEW's women's division initially was garbage. It was garbage. and it stayed garbage for a long time. And then they tried using Yoshi matches, which is like this Japanese style with the women where they're like dressed up in goofy costumes and stuff, and they're doing a bunch of weird. Like there was a lady who's done this shtick in Japan for years, where she like acts like she's Freddie Mercury and does like the We Will Rock, and it's like, oh my god, it's cringe, it's pure cringe. And I'm just sitting there like, this. Okay, this might work in Japan, but this is. I would like to see. I know you can wrestle. I know for a fact you can wrestle. Could you do that? That'd be great. And Kenny Omega spent years in Japan, so he's a fan of that style. And Kenny Omega was in charge of the women's division for a little bit there. And I think he still is, but I think at some point somebody got in his ear and go, Kenny, this is in Japan. Could we get some talent and just have wrestling matches? And it's like, yes. Good. That'd be awesome. Turn Britt Baker heel. Chris Statlander's come along and improved steadily. You've got, now, I named you off. You brought in talent from other companies who initially would come in for a hit here. Serena Deeb was a WWE castaway who was doing training, who was a trainer. Turns out she can still wrestle. The first match I named off when I gave you the All or Nothing thing was Serena Deeb and Riho. Riho was the first AEW Women's Champion who can wrestle. She can get it done in the ring. And Serena Deeb, they had a good match. Mm-hmm. Serena Deeb is a technician. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's very good in the ring. Well, you've got her there on the roster when you need her to have a match. She can go out there and have a match, and she's got a title. Great. So while the other division was building up, you had the NWA Women's Championship. So because you have the NWA Women's Championship there, you also get to use Thunder Rosa regularly. You get to book her in a bunch of matches. Thunder Rosa's real good in the ring. Chris Statlander has gotten infinitely better in the ring. Nyla Rose is quite good in the ring now. Okay, I've already named you off about 4 or 5 people.
You got Anna Jay, who's eventually going to come back.
And she's been and she was improving by leaps and bounds prior to that. And she's gorgeous. So you've got that. Oh, by the way, Tay Conti, who is a WWE castaway, she's been building momentum, and she looks great, and she actually is quite good, and she actually has gotten quite good at her in-ring. By the way, as I name off more people, that roster's starting to get better and better as we're going along here. Mm-hmm. So at this point, the roster is actually pretty serviceable. It's actually quite solid. And that isn't even counting some of the people they haven't had the chance to use yet. They got Diamante, who was with Eva Lise, and then Eva Lise got herself booted because Eva Lise gets herself booted from everywhere. She's got some attitude problems. She has a lot of issues. But Diamante is actually pretty good. Layla Hirsch, I think it's Layla Hirsch. She's actually pretty solid in ring. So I'm naming off names. Not all of them are known. Not all of them are seen all the time. Some of them are only on Dark and things like that. But at some point, that means at some point they'll be like, oh, we need an opponent for Britt Baker or somebody. We need somebody who's ready to go. Go get Layla Hirsch. Go get this one. Go get this one. Go get, Red Velvet. Go get Big Swole. Like, I can name off people. The point is, I can actually name a roster, and enough of them have actually won matches on TV and stuff where it's like, I'm not just pulling somebody out of left field who nobody's ever heard of. And then you can use them, have a feud or whatever, and then, move on. And by the way, I didn't even mention Hikaru Shida was a former champion. She's around too. She can have a rematch. I just gave you options. I gave you options and options. The WWE Women's Division is in shambles. Somebody did a list where they did for SmackDown after this last set of releases. Do you have any idea how bad the SmackDown Women's roster is now?
It's bad.
Like, it's pathetically bad. It's literally almost nobody. I don't remember where the list is. Somebody actually put the list, and it's like single digits. You barely have a division. You don't have a division. And then you've got a champion of what? Like, you can't even have a battle royal. You've got so few women that you can't. You put them all in the match, you'd expose how bad this division is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like WWE has a bloated roster, and yet they've completely wiped it out.
So it's 7 total. That's how much SmackDown has.
I named more than 7 women when I came up with the AEW thing. And I just did that off the top of my head, and I didn't even pick the secondary talents who are in developmental, who are getting the odd match here and there. I didn't even name them. There's a bunch of them. Taylor Price. There's ones that are regularly in rotation who are there predominantly to be jobbers. But jobbers have a role too. That allows you to beef up the roster.
You need them.
You need them to build up, because otherwise you get 50-50. Because if everybody's 50-50, they all look like crap. No, you have your name talents beat up on some of these jobbers. It builds up their record. It means they win more often than they lose. So then when you're ready to put them in as contenders, they actually look legit. You can bring them out like, actually, this person's got a winning record and this person's got a winning record. And that way you can have a ranking and make it look like it's a real thing. That's good. That's a good thing. That's old school wrestling mentality, but it can work. That's why WWF superstars back in the day, oh, Bret Hart's on this week. Cool. Who's he facing? The Brooklyn Brawler. Why? Because Bret Hart is generally going to win on this show. That's how this works. It's the Brooklyn Brawler or the Repo Man. Pick one. Doesn't matter. It's old school wrestling. It's how it's done back in the day. Anyway, it's fun. But I throw it out to you. I throw it out to you guys. But just so you understand, WWE is this move. We'll see what happens. I could 100% see them selling just because of the reasons I outlined. If they want to keep it, then, then it's straight cost cutting. But again, straight cost cutting when they're making lots of money. So, and of course, the greatest tragedy of all.
Yeah.
The greatest tragedy of all. Braun Strowman leaves as the longest reigning world's greatest Royal Rumble champion. He was also the only one.
And why? Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, it was basically when they did one of the Saudi Arabia shows. They did the greatest Royal Rumble. So when he won a green version of the WWE Championship that was specifically for this thing. So he's the longest reigning greatest Royal Rumble ever champion at over 1,100 days.
Good for him.
A legacy unparalleled in this sport, Dave.
Who knows what's going to happen this week and who they're going to release next and where this is going to go, Carlos?
But I wanted to finish it on that note. It's a very whimsical note. I thought you'd enjoy that one. So there you go. All right. So that's my general thesis. I wanted to present it. I don't know. Like nobody's in Vince McMahon's head. He's out of his goddamn mind. He's senile. But like I said, I could see multiple scenarios. It depends on whether the kids want to take it over or not. That's really the answer. The answer to the question is whether the kids want to take it over.
Yeah.
If they do, then sure. Then it's cost cutting and they'll stay the course. But to their detriment, because the show hasn't been getting better. It's been getting worse. And at this point, NXT is unwatchable. So it's like, we got nothing, man. So good for AEW.
SmackDown is probably the best of what they have right now.
It's just
bad.
That
is SmackDown with 7 women.
It's bad. It's real bad. They just need to merge the division. There's no point in having two. Just merge it then. Just put them all under one. Put them all under one title. There's no point in having two.
You know what? Do that and then maybe make something of that. Yeah, they could actually maybe do something with that.
They've done nothing with that. The women should realize like they're not a priority at all on the show. Like they don't even care about these championships or who has them. It doesn't make any difference. But yeah, I have to end on that negative note because that's what it is. Okay, so anything else with the wrestling side of things?
Nope.
Okay, shall we do USFL for just a minute because I need to laugh.
Yeah, have your laugh, and then I feel let's round out the show that way.
That's why I wanted to leave the USFL for the end. Now, guys, when it comes to the USFL, as you well know, it's not like we have any history here on the Unnecessary Nonsense podcast with defunct football leagues. I can't think of anything that would suggest to anyone that we discuss at any length whatsoever anything related to these miscellaneous leagues. Now, the important thing is, with the USFL coming into play, like honestly, great idea. Sounds fantastic. I can't imagine any other league in 2022 that intends to play. I can't think of one. So Dave, I don't know. Can you think of any league in 2022 that would be potentially playing any games?
Could that be the new version or AKA The Rock's XFL?
Also known as XFL 3.0. And Dave, how did you come up with that? What the hell? I didn't even think of that.
It just came to me, Carlos.
I didn't even think of that. That's amazing.
It's definitely not because you have put on an XFL hat and started drinking out of an XFL mug. Definitely not for that reason.
Guys, you got to have the swag when the moment is right. When the moment is right.
This is another reason you need to watch the YouTube channel or you don't get the joke here.
You got to have the visual gags when you have them, man. I was waiting. I knew my moment would come. Okay, so let me be serious for a minute. I enjoy wearing the hat, but I don't need to wear a hat indoors. Okay, so here's the deal. Serious. Let's be serious for a second. I don't understand what the USFL is. Like, I saw the thing and I was like, what? Why? Who? Huh? So here's the thing. Quick recap, guys. Quick recap. And I talked about this. And one of the best received videos that we have on this channel was when I talked about obviously the end of the AAF and also the XFL thing as well. Here's the thing. I like the AAF. I like the concept of it, but they screwed up their funding. They messed it up, and then they got in bed with the wrong businessman, and he screwed the league and ended it. That was a shame because they had a lot of things really good that I liked. So I like the AAF. The second iteration of the XFL. I like that too. I actually was able to get some swag for these guys. The AF didn't last long enough. Because the AF, they never had the store ready. At least the XFL had the store. But now, okay, so in 2022, supposedly, we're getting XFL 3.0 with The Rock, which, great, good idea. Let's use a twice failed thing. Well, I guess the good news is the USFL only failed once.
Yes, this is true.
So it's like, we're really going to do this again? Again? I don't understand what the obsession is with I understand the idea of trying to bring a summer football league. And like in Canada, imagine if like, say from July on, we had a football league. Like for once in the history of Canada, wouldn't it be lovely if we had like, football in July and August? Like it's never happened before, but imagine if we had it just one time. That'd be amazing. But
yeah, I'm not even going to comment.
But anyway, the thing is that, so you've got, the concept is fine. And I'm happy to have football in these months. Sure, let's do it. But it's like, unless it's a feeder system for the NFL, this ain't going to work. And by the way, if you tried the USFL, it's going to basically be the original USFL tried to be an NFL competitor. This one's not going to be an NFL competitor.
No.
No way. And the XFL isn't trying to be an NFL competitor. They understand where their bread is buttered. They've even had deals with, alleged football league, the CFL. I say alleged because it's not like they play games. But the thing is that it tells you the level they're at where they've even had discussions with the CFL. Like they understand it's got to be a feeder league. It's got to be an alternative option. It's got to be just a fun diversion for the summer, which by the way, I'm completely okay with. I love AAA baseball. I like the AHL, stuff like that. There's room for that. Football could totally have that. Yeah. There could be some fun players. There could be some fun games. If these guys could get paid and make a living, I'm cool with all that. And if some of them are real good, they could get on an NFL roster. I think that's a good system. But the NFL's got to back it. Doesn't matter who it is. So I don't know what the XFL 2022's plan is. I have no idea. I'll be curious. But the USFL came completely out of left field. I'm genuinely confused. I'm perplexed. I don't understand.
Yeah, it totally, like there was no build up at all. All of a sudden, boom, XFL or USFL is coming back. Huh?
And the thing is,
let me look at this. There are zero details about this whatsoever in this announcement.
And I don't know if they realize it. I don't know if they realize. They said they're going to start in 2022, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys know. I don't mean to alarm you. It's 2021. That means about a year.
Where's the plan?
Now here's the thing. Here's what I'll give them. It's backed by FS1. Apparently they have an ownership stake.
Yes.
So theoretically they've got TV. That's good. That's a good thing. That could help.
For sure. But, other leagues have had TV too.
Yeah, but I mean like TV, but I mean like TV they don't have to pay for. That was one of the downfalls of the AAF. A lot of their deals where they weren't really getting paid for TV. Right, you got to have a TV deal. If you have a TV deal,
fair enough.
You don't just need the airtime. You need rights fees. WBE, I talked a couple of minutes ago. Here's what WBE is. Okay, just so we're clear.
All right.
WBE at this stage, and I promise I'll get back to the USFL thing in a second. But here's what you need to understand about WBE. WBE had the Peacock deal, like I said, $1 billion over 5 years. That's $200 million a year. Okay. Mm-hmm. So let me go here. TV rights. I want to see if I get this right. See if I can find this here. Yeah, USA is paying WBE $265 million a year. And Fox, I believe, is paying them like another $200 million. For those keeping score at home, 265, 200. I'm being approximate, but stick with me on this.
Yeah.
265, 200. That's 465, and $200 million a year for Peacock. That's $600 million a year for doing nothing. For just having the show and airing it. Yeah. Well, imagine if you were able to put people in arenas. That's just extra money. Oh, and what about the Saudi Arabia deal where they make an undisclosed 8-figure sum for these shows? WWE makes money on nothing. On air at this stage. WWE's rights deals are almost as perplexing. I like making fun of it. In this case, they deserve it. They're almost as perplexing as CFL's CTV rights deal. I wouldn't pay $1.95 for it. But Bell paid $100 million, I think, the last time around, or something like that, or $50 million. I forget what it was. It doesn't matter. It was $500 million too much. I don't care what it is. They should charge the CFL for TV time. But the thing is, there's no justification for it. WWE's ratings dropping.
Yeah.
They're worth less every day that goes by. The reason I tease the CFL thing is because it's like, well, yeah, your ratings are good, but look at your advertiser. Your advertisers are going to tell me what value your product has. When you're getting Safeway around the country, when Ontario doesn't have Safeway.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That means you're getting regional commercials. Why don't you get the local car dealership then? Because that's how low on the totem pole you are. Oh, but you're getting 1 million viewers. But no one cares. Mm-hmm. If it mattered, these national brands would be like, oh, yeah, 1 million viewers? Yeah, let me get some TV ad time on that.
Yeah, for sure. How
do you think the Super Bowl makes so much damn money? Those commercials are worth a lot of money because there's a lot of eyeballs and they want in. They're like, no, we'll pay you $10 million for like a 30-second spot. Of course.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing. This one is even more obscene, though. $600 million between these 3 different deals for a product that's depreciating as we speak. Well, when these deals run out, if these guys extend these deals, they're idiots. But that could be when the cash cow suddenly comes to a screeching halt faster than a Cody Rhodes match. Screeching halt. Captain America 2.0 ain't going to save you now. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd do one more poke at Cody Rhodes.
All right.
It's real bad. But anyway, so yeah, USFL. Okay, so FS1, good. If there's some money involved, I guess that'll help. Who are you going to get to play? And by the way, then all of a sudden you got 2 of these leagues. So the XFL is going to have its thing again, 3rd attempt. The USFL is going to have its 2nd attempt. So you're going to compete for players?
And neither of them will be successful. That's my prediction.
Yeah, but also, like, does the XFL have a TV deal this time around? I don't know. They're a year away too, by the way. They're a year away. I don't know. Are we getting Vin Diesel? Is he coming by? Like, I don't know. Help me out here. Give me something.
It's possible.
Maybe The Rock will go out as the Scorpion King. Like, I don't know. He's got to do something. I'm not sure. Find something to do.
It's possible. It's just like, he'll play.
I will just say, like, it was the most random thing I saw. As soon as I saw that USFL start, I'm like, that is the most random thing. The XFL thing, I was already perplexed by that for next year anyway. But, like, the USFL thing, I'm like, why? Who asked for that? Is Donald Trump trying to get a team again? Because it didn't work last time. It totally didn't work last time.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It's a terrible idea. Anyway, whatever. We'll see. But there you go. I just thought I would have some fun.
Got to bring in the XFL props, man.
Hey, listen. I do what I can. I tried to make something entertaining out of a really questionable thing, really questionable story. It's the best I can do, people. It's the best I can do. But anyway, I think that's it for us. I think that's good. I think that's good for episode 99. We are now on the road, like back in the day. It used to be the road to WrestleMania. We are on the road to cake.
Yes, we are.
We are 7 days away. Brace yourselves, people. Brace yourselves.
Brace yourselves for cake.
Good stuff. Anyway, so that's it. I think that's it for us in episode 99. You can check us out on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play. I will put the audio up, but you will not get to see the glorious visage. Dave claims I had some XFL swag on the screen. How will you know if you don't check YouTube? Who knows? You can try to see it through the audio if you stare at your phone real close, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
I got nothing.
Possible.
Yep. But that's it. So next episode, we'll come back. Maybe we'll talk a little more wrestling. Maybe we'll see what happens. I'll be honest, I've had more fun doing that than a lot of the other
Who knows?
stuff.
We'll see what happens.
We did our CanCon. We made fun of the Maple Leafs. We did what we did our duty.
And who knows? Maybe by the time we come back and reconvene, the Habs will have gone on to the semifinals.
You can be the best team in Canada. No, technically that would be, yeah.
Yeah?
Does that mean you win the Canadian Championship? Does that mean you win the Grey Cup?
No.
Maybe they should. They're not using it for anything. Give them the Grey Cup.
Now they're not.
Give them the Grey Cup. Whatever. Let them have it. It'll be great. You win the Grey Cup. Woo! First Grey Cup awarded since the 1800s. Amazing. Anyway, so that'll be it for us. Always. Anyway, so that's it for us. We'll be back with episode cake, which will be called episode cake. And then we'll figure out what happens with some of this stuff. We'll see. AEW, don't let me down. We built up the doctor. We got the doctor where she needed to be. Don't screw this up. No Nyla Rose. Abort. Stop it. Anyway, so that's it for us. We'll catch you in the next episode of the Unnecessary Nonsense Podcast.